Today I'm on my way to the UK's very first Civil Aviation Authority Drone Safety Day. It's been held at an active airfield and I'm not quite sure what to expect, but I think it's going to be quite an interesting one and we'll be covering it in full. From DroningON, and I'm at Compton Abbas Airfield today. It's an active airfield and it's the site of the first CAA Drone Safe Day. Now there's going to be manufacturers here, the CAA themselves, as well as other organisations talking about and showcasing what they're doing to make drones safe. So it should be quite an interesting event. Let's get in there and take a look. I arrived fairly early and so the hangar was quite empty, very cold as well, but it soon filled up with the expected 130 or so drone related fanatics. Whilst waiting for the event to fill, at the back of the hangar were Rotor Rush with their FPV simulator on offer to try out, and of course many of the attendees had never flown a racing quad before. So I'm here with Ray from Rotor Rush, and we've got a flight simulator here that's designed for the commercial market as part of their new offering now, and also the racing quadcopter market. So do you want to tell us a little bit about it, Ray?
Yeah, sure. Rotor Rush is a drone racing simulator primarily. We were on the scene at the UK Drone Show 2 years ago, really when the scene was just beginning to pick up. Now drone racing globally is probably the fastest growing sport in the world. We're actually, we've got pilots in 63 different countries at least at the moment. And what we do now is we provide the simulation software for people to learn to fly their drones, because you have to consider that the racing drones, they'll hit 85 mile an hour, 100 mile an hour, quite easily, very fast. The simulation space has come into it really to help people learn to fly. And now what we're seeing, because around the world you've got really big sort of pilot population growing, the esports side of it, which we're also very involved in now, is growing as well. So if you think about different kinds of games you can play online, drone racing, where you can have your own drone to go and fly out in the field for real with your mates, and also do exactly the same thing on the simulator, is quite unique.
If they want to get hold of this simulator, what's the process? How much does it cost and where can they get it?
Okay, so Rotor Rush is an organisation, provides you with online competitions and everything else. So if you want to get hold of it, the rotorrush.com is the website. Right. And there's two ways you can have it. If you join the Rotor Rush community, it's £4 a month, so a couple of coffees in Starbucks, very low price.
Hi there, I'm Kevin. I build some of these tracks.
Ah, lovely.
So the BFMA Championship that was 3 weeks ago now, that track was developed on this simulator, and then released the day of the actual racing.
So the actual physical track was designed here first, and then implemented in for the actual event.
Yes.
Oh, very cool.
It gives them the ability to work out spaces, check the turns, feel about right,
work out where they're going to crash.
And then we deliberately didn't release it because that's what the organisers wanted.
Right.
They did not want us to release it
practice.
Too early.
So
some people do,
races,
some don't.
Right? The PVRA are strict on not releasing tracks beforehand, whereas Korean and others get it out there, get the practice in, so it's faster racing on the day. But different ways of thinking about it.
Brilliant. All right, thank you very much, guys. Much appreciated. Cheers.
Very welcome.
10:30 a.m. arrived and it was time for the formal presentations to start. Introduced by event organiser Jonathan Nicholson from the CAA's Communications Department.
We'll run through the presentations. If you could save questions to the end, we'll get all the speakers back up and a couple of other people and do a Q&A and do it that way. I'm now going to hand over to Clive, who is Mr. Compton Abbas.
Well, good morning, one and all, and welcome to Compton Abbas Airfield. This is a fabulous opportunity to avail yourselves of some of the fundamentals of flight safety, of drone operations, to look to learn and maybe participate in some of the activities. It's those of us with our hands and in sometimes our feet on the controls that actually have the ultimate responsibility. And I think that is an important point, something to remember. It is reported that up to 10 crimes a day come to the notice of police forces in the UK involving drone use. Most of these crimes, it must be said, do not involve flight safety. It is a real shame that the scenario has been brought about by irresponsible use, and of course this is not acceptable where aviation is concerned. Drone code gives plenty of good guidance. It states that code is a common sense approach to drone operations. This is all well and good, but by observations, experience, reading the news, looking at the television, whether common sense is actually as common as we would like, I'm not sure. Aeroplanes are cleverly constructed, mostly relying on lightness of construction, and this is all well and good under normal operation. However, a drone striking the wooden interplane strut of, let's say, a Tiger Moth aircraft would more than likely cause the aircraft to depart flight and the wings to fold up. Now that's not going to be a controlled landing. Gyrocopter and weight shift pilots are very, very exposed. They have nothing in front of them. And I would suggest that a drone in the face of one of these pilots would probably spoil their day. In 1 year alone, there were 500,000 drones purchased in the UK. Many for domestic use. The likelihood, therefore, of a coming together of a drone and an aircraft must surely be of the significance. What I have said is, in some way, as a result of my 55 years experience in aviation, most of which has been first-hand and at the sharp end of operations. We have a great day planned for you, with many knowledgeable people on hand to give information, advice on all aspects of drone and GA flying. As for us, well, from this day forward, Compton Abbas, we are actually committed to becoming involved with the world of drone operations. We're looking towards getting a drone school here. The future of drone operations is incredibly exciting, with so many applications and benefits, with the fun of it all being well up there. Concentrate the mind, be responsible, do whatever you can to stop irresponsible drone use, and enjoy your drone flying. Have a great day.
Clive gave a really good presentation as a GA pilot and a drone user as well, and his comments regarding safety were entirely valid. It was an interesting insight from an operator of an airfield. Next up, Phantom Flight School gave a short talk about their services in training drone users around the country. Next, it was Nat's turn to talk about their Drone Assist app. Nats are the UK's main air traffic control provider, and their dedicated app is targeted specifically at drone pilots to try and avoid airspace breach.
But if you mention ATZ to somebody who doesn't know anything about flying, they have no understanding of it. So what we tried to do then was introduce an app that should explain things clearly to people in layman's terms of exactly what aviation speak is all about. So on here then, it provides a tutorial. Well, that would be a good place to start. How are you going to actually use the app? What is the app actually used for? And it provides access to the drone code as well. And with the app, everything that takes place on the app, we can see how often it's used. So I'll give you some figures in a minute. So it allows us to see the growth, where people are flying, what they do. We don't know about what individuals are doing. We haven't got names attached to things, but it gives us an idea of where people are flying, and hopefully we can understand why they might be flying there. We can share this data with the CAA, and then perhaps we can do an education piece. If we notice a number of incidents occurring in one particular area, perhaps we can go to a school, we can go to a flying club, or anything along those lines, to start focusing in on real key education issues.
The Drone Assist app does seem very nice, but it was an interesting revelation that Nats are sharing and monitoring the use of the app with the CAA in terms of where drone pilots are choosing to fly each time they use the app. Personal information isn't transferred according to them. However, if Nats notice a regular breach in a specific area, I do wonder if the tracked data might be used to catch the pilot.
I know sometimes we have a reputation with some people of being, not potentially the best people in the world at promoting aviation, but I think in drones we're trying to make a difference there and actually really trying to help. Talking, for example, Transport for London the other day we met, they are already planning when they look at the future structure of London of looking at things like drone landing sites on the tops of buildings, drone landing sites in streets that can feed into robotic and electronic vehicles that move parcels around. Their ideal world is there is no white van person in London. It is drones that feed into the structure and into the system. We need to get irresponsible flying of drones into the same position as drink driving is now. So that's taking a long time for drink driving to become socially unacceptable. We need to get to the position where people doing stupid things with drones that are endangering others becomes unacceptable. And we need your help. We've got the website, we've done research, we've got the 400-foot Britain photo competition we did last year, and in the past couple of weeks we've won 2 national PR awards for that as well. So it is working, people are getting it. And what else is going on? We have the Share the Air events like we've got today. This is the first big one we're doing. We're actually encouraging general aviation airfields like Compton Abbas to do their own events, to engage with their local drone communities, and to swap learning, swap safety. It's as equally as important that GA pilots know where drone pilots fly as it is the other way around. You are equal users of the airspace, GA and drones. So the more we can get the two communities together, because you're operating in the same kind of airspace, it really works. I thought I'd just quickly mention the UK legislation changes. So the government has said through the Department for Transport that it will introduce drone registration with compulsory education. They are working with us on that. The latest is they are committed to it. There is no timescale and there are no more details yet other than what they've already released. So over 250 grams. How it will work, when it will work, they have not yet decided. It's a definite watch this space, but there is nothing imminent in the next couple of months that we're aware of to actually launch the registration. And the compulsory education, they have yet to decide. That could be anything from an online resource when you register to something more, again, yet to be defined by the government. European Aviation Safety Agency, for those of you who don't know, that's the European Commission body for civil aviation rules and regulations. They've never covered drones before, but they are going to. They have had out for consultation over the last year some drone rules for Europe. If any of you have ever flown in other countries in Europe, the rules are very different from country to country. Some of the Scandinavian countries, you can't fly a drone with a camera unless you're a commercial operator. It really does vary from country to country. EASA are planning to bring in some basic regulation for the whole of Europe, which will include things like registration, compulsory education. It will bring in some requirements for the manufacturers as well. They're going to have the CE mark on their drones, and there will be a set of requirements that brings. With the stage they're at the moment is they are waiting for the European Commission to change the what's called the basic regulation, which is the ground core rules that EASA operates to. They're thinking that will happen in the next couple of weeks. That will then give EASA the legal permission to regulate drones, and then they will look to bring in, as I say, they've been out to consultation a couple of times now on their draft proposals. They're looking probably to bring that in during the spring of next year to make that then a final set of requirements. There is a meeting in EASA later this month where countries like ourselves, some of the air traffic people, some of the drone representative groups will be meeting with EASA as a chance to hear what those final proposals will be. I don't think there'll be another consultation. That will then go out to be made law, and as I say, will probably come into effect if all goes to plan with EASA's plans in spring of 2018. That doesn't mean that you have to follow it then. There will be a 2 to 3 year implementation transition when it comes into effect. That's standard for all the EASA rules. So keep a lookout for that. We will do a lot of publicity about it in the UK when we have those.
The announcement that the Department of Transport will announce registration and even compulsory education might concern some, but it's quite some time away and so the proposal is not yet very clear. Next up was a short Q&A round, and the first question was to query why the UK's BMFA weren't present at the event.
I noticed that the BMFA isn't represented here today and hasn't been mentioned. I just wondered if that is something that you wanted to talk about and include in your sort of views. Is that something that you've engaged with or will be engaging with in the future?
Yeah, so we have been working with BMFA for a long while, and obviously they're involved in the European regulation stuff as well to make sure that the existing very safe model flyers aren't adversely affected by any new legislation that comes along as well that isn't necessarily meant for them. So yeah, absolutely, we've been talking to the BMFA. We welcome working with them throughout everything we do.
Another interesting question raised concerning the legality and penalties for hiring non-PFCO qualified pilots for commercial drone work.
Something that I'm sure the government will look at when it's looking at its changes to legislation. The onus is on the operator rather than the person hiring it to comply by the law. But absolutely, yeah, we will be emphasising to people hiring drone users that they do need to actually seek out a proper commercial operator.
Okay.
Then a question which arises all the time amongst drone pilots. When is the capturing of footage or photos classified as commercial and then would of course require a licence and or CAA permission?
If, on the other hand, somebody comes to you and says, oh, I'm an estate agent, I know you've got a drone, I will give you 50 quid if you come and film this £1 million property for so I can have some video to put on my website. That's absolutely commercial use. So if you knew you were going to make money from the flight before you took the flight, that is commercial use.
Finally, it was our turn to ask some questions on behalf of our DroningON members.
I run a community called DroningON. I mentioned that I was coming here and asked for any questions that people have. One of the big ones that came up and that comes up quite often is, as the other chap said, congested area. A clear definition of what is a congested area. Is that 5 houses, 500 houses? So the definitions on the CAA website are quite vague, which can be an advantage in some respects, but the competent pilots, the safe pilots, really need a good clarification of that.
It's vague on purpose to give you that freedom in a way. So it's the way I explain it sometimes is we don't say to the private pilots who fly here that level of you can't go there, you can't do this. There are places and certain pieces of airspace, absolutely they can't. But what we say is, you are the pilot in command. So for example, the weather, the guys will tell you there are very strict distances that they have to be able to see and cloud heights, etc., to be able to legally fly. But we don't turn up here today and say to them all, yes, no, yes, no. They are pilots. It is their decision. Drone guys and girls, you are pilots as well. It is your decision as to whether that is safe or not. We can give you guidance, but we can't say, for example, you wouldn't like it if we turned around and said, every park is a congested area. Because if you turn up at that park at 5 o'clock on an August morning to get a beautiful sunrise shot, it's probably not a congested area because you might well be the only people there. So you don't want us to say parks are congested areas and give you that finite thing because it will take away lots of opportunities that you currently have. So we'll give you guidance. It's necessarily top level. And, you know, if you're a commercial operator or whatever, you can always go to the policy guys in the CAA and go, I'm thinking about doing this, what do you think?
Another question from Martin Cox. Many RC pilots are confused by the recommendations regarding altitude or height for the drone. So you have the 400 foot, but there is also a figure of 1,000 feet from a document 1226. Stating that as long as they're flying with a competent observer, they're allowed to fly up to 1,000 feet. So can we get some explanation between these two, when one applies and when the other doesn't?
Yeah, so the actual rule at the moment says you must keep your drone in sight. You must have visual sight of your drone. If you can't see your drone, you haven't got that perception of depth and height, etc., to work with other airspace users. So that's what the law says. We recommend 400 feet because we think that is roughly, for the average consumer drone, where you start to lose that visibility, if you like. But obviously it does depend on the size of your drone. And the 1,000 foot is if you're doing first person view with an observer, you can legally go to 1,000 foot. But there is no legal distance for the other element. It is within visual line of sight.
Okay. 2 more very quick questions, I promise. Question from Terry Knight. Is the USA Part 107 commercial license valid in any way in the UK?
So what we say to all non-UK commercial operators is absolutely there will probably be some, or if not all, of your licence that is applicable, but you do need to talk to us first.
Okay, and last one, question to Nats. Does the app that you have include KP index information? So, for example, the magnetic interference that can disrupt the flight of an autonomous drone?
I can answer this question really, really quickly. No. No, what we do is we try and put hazards on, for example, power lines. So we'll highlight power lines because of the potential that they could interfere with the signal between the ground station and the drone. So we have things along those lines. But again,
this local BBC journalist shot a piece on location and featured a tiny whoop landing on his hand, which was pretty cool. But next up to talk about their latest offering were the UK wing of Yuneec, although they were sadly the only drone manufacturer present at the show, much to Yuneec's approval, I'm sure. They gave a short talk regarding their new H520 model, targeted more at the commercial market.
But we have a built-in Android tablet into our SD16, so it does away with the need for cables and charging different devices. It's all built into the one machine, which is really, really nice. It's a 16-channel transmitter. We have a 720p downlink, 220 milliseconds latency. I'm going to really bore you now because I know some really, really boring facts. So obviously, instances whereby if you're flying a quad, right, you lose a prop, right, or the main reason is people hit things and fly into trees or buildings or whatever, and you do lose a prop, it will fly on 5. Okay? That's also true if you have an ESC failure or you have a hardware failure of the motor or whatever, it will fly on 5. It will actually fly on 4, but you need to lose them on opposite sides. Okay? So when you crash, you have to be quite structured about it and make sure you crash in on 2 different sides. And with this LiPo, you're running about up to 28 minutes flight time. Okay? So it's a really, really good flight time. As you probably heard or maybe didn't hear, the machine is incredibly quiet. We're running 72 dBi, which is actually half as quiet as a Mavic that's half the weight of this. Okay, if that makes sense.
I think we should go and demonstrate this now to see how quiet it is. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really pleased to tell you the weather has cleared.
And so, despite the horrific weather of the morning, we all piled outdoors into the light rain to watch the H520 in action. Interestingly, the H520 has no IP approval rating for waterproofing, but that didn't stop the flight team from putting it through its paces. The cost of this drone, however, might put some off at over £2,300. That's about $2,500.
I'll let Laura know. Takeoff, I use my iPhone, swipe to start, okay, and then you get auto takeoff where the machine will take off by itself, take off flight mode, and then through GPS, the wonderful GPS, it will just sit there. For those of you who don't appreciate or understand the GPS settings, I will explain it to you now. So through GPS that wants to stay there. Even if I grab it and I try and annoy it, yeah, it still wants to go back to where it started from. Alright, so through GPS, that's what it does. If I turn GPS off, okay, and put it in manual, that means I can grab it and I can move it myself and throw it around. Alright, then as soon as I turn GPS back on, now it's being affected by the wind, I turn GPS back on and she wants to sit there. We have our rate switch on the side right here. If you want to get most sort of high altitude cinematic stuff looks really, really good when it's slow. So all we need to do is we turn our rates down, our dual rates. So at the moment you can see, I get full rates to the left, and I get my GPS braking, and she'll stay there. All I need to do now is turn my rates down to the bottom, give it full stick to the right, and you'll see that the speed gets limited Right, so I'm now, as you can see, full stick to the right, and everything slows right down. Next software update, you are going to have a sport mode that will take you to 20 metres per second. That's going to be around about 60 miles an hour, which is pretty decent. Okay, so that's our rate switch. We have a different gimbal function. At the moment you can see it's in what's called FPV. So as I rotate the aircraft, the camera comes with me. You can see on the screen the camera's going to rotate with the aircraft. All I need to do is put it in global mode, and then I rotate the aircraft, and you can see, if you can see on the screen, yeah, the camera stays really, really solid. Yeah, the camera doesn't move. I then have the ability to take manual control of my gimbal and operate the gimbal independently of the aircraft. But not only can I rotate the gimbal, I'll start recording now, otherwise I'll forget. Not only can I rotate the gimbal, if I'm doing inspection work, I have 30 degrees looking up, okay, and I also have 90 degrees looking straight down. Okay, so I can look up 30 degrees, down 90 degrees, and I have a continuous, and that is really, really important, a continuous 360 degree rotation on my gimbal. Right, a lot of other manufacturers don't have continuous. You get to about 500 degrees, and then it gets to its end limit, and then you have to unwind the camera. 1.9. The props will just snap on, so the props will just snap on, come off and on like so. Okay, the great thing about this machine as well, because when I first started at Yuneec, I used to repair stuff, which seems like a lifetime ago now. But actually, to repair the machine and change parts, it's incredibly easy. So if your retract module breaks, for example, you've got 2 screws there. Everything on the machine's contactless. So 2 screws come out, slide it out, slide a new one in, screw it back on. It's about a 30-second job. Yeah, the arms are just 1 pin. So 3 pins off the speed controller. Yeah, pull the pin out, new pin in, connect it up, off you go.
Back into the rather chilly hangar, and just enough time before heading home to get a quick chat with Graham from Compton Abbas Airfield Operations, as well as a quick chat with 2 of the attendees. So we've got Graham here, who works in the ops at Compton Abbas Airfield. Graham, it's really good to see airfields such as yours here embracing drones and quadcopters as well. Yeah. So what's your take on it? Do you fly yourself?
Yes, I'm a private pilot. I fly for fun. But I think it's very important that we all share the airspace, and we need to share it properly. There shouldn't be the them and us. It should be us all together, and looking at how we can integrate.
Brilliant, and that's really good progression. So after the event today, is this going to be an annual thing here, or even more often throughout the year?
We would like to get involved in the education side of drone flying. We'd like to have many more drone events here. Yeah. It's something, as I say, we want to embrace, not look at it as a threat or anything else. We want to embrace it.
Brilliant, that's really good. Thank you very much, Graham, and a great event here, by the way.
Good. Okay.
Although it's a bit cold.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, airfields and hangars always are.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
We're at the Drone Safe Day run by the CAA. How have you found the session today? Has it been useful?
It's really good. I'm amazed at the turnout on such an awful day.
I said it's like Glastonbury with all the mud out there as well.
It's a truly horrible day. The weather was bad when we left home, and it just got worse and worse, but the turnout's great.
Definitely. It's really nice as well to see a good mixture. It's not just men here, we've got ladies here as well. How have you found it? Are you into drones personally?
I'm not so much into drones. I had my first ever little go yesterday.
Right.
So that's the first time I've actually tried to fly one.
Okay.
But I've been really impressed with the NATS guys and all the safety that they've been taking into consideration, and the apps and things that they've been showing us. So that's something that's completely new to me. So
brilliant.
I'm very impressed.
You'll be getting a drone for Christmas then?
I might be getting half a drone for Christmas.
A part share, 50-50.
Somebody else might want to play with it. Yeah.
Thanks very much, guys.
Okay.
So there we go, the first of many events, hopefully in coordination with the CAA and the airfields that are also supporting them. We'll be sure to get to as many as we can and report from those events. Please comment below, give the video a thumbs up and click subscribe. We'd love to hear from you guys. Thanks for watching.